Hello and welcome back to my channel where I like to have fun with all things beauty while being critical about what I accept into my collection. Today is a Sephora haul part 2. These are all of the secondary items that I picked up during the sale. This is mostly stuff that's been out for a long time, so there's plenty of reviews and I didn't feel the need to rush on here and talk about whether I thought they were worth picking up before the sale ended, but they're still relevant. And there is one exception to that. There is one new item here. So I'm going to jump in and talk about that first. That is the Creal Concealer. I decided to pick this up because frankly, I'm over 40 and that's who this brand is targeted at. And so many people have said that it's amazing that I resisted at first. You know, it's a $58 concealer. So I didn't see anything truly compelling enough to make me think that it was worth that. So I didn't pick it up first. It was definitely when I started seeing more reviews come out that part of me that just really needs to find out for myself kicked in and I picked it up. I figured if it's terrible, I'll just return it. But I'm pretty happy with the concealers that I use now. So, you know, if anything, I feel like I'm comparing it to really good concealers that work for me. So I'm absolutely going to put it side by side and talk about whether I think it's worth it because the concealers that I use and love right now are pretty cheap. They're the Kulfi and the Kosas. I like them both equally and they're both very affordable. So, you know, I really wasn't sure what this was going to bring to the table. And I will say I've only used it twice. So number one, just to clear the air, I don't think you need this. If you are happy with your concealer or if you're not, I think you can get the same exact thing from Kulfi and Kosas. Whatever has the better shade match for you, I think both of those concealers as concealer work just as good as this. I need to do more testing. I'm not done collecting data, but it definitely did not blow my mind when I used it as a concealer. However, today when I used it all over my face as foundation, I have to say for the first time in a very long time, I looked in the mirror after I was done with my makeup and I said, wow. I have not said that since I discovered the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. It takes a lot for a base product to impress me. And when I used it all over my face, it impressed me. I mean, clearly this is 9 mil, so there is no world in which I can use this as my foundation. This will never be my foundation, but using it on a bigger area, I was able to sort of appreciate how nicely it sat on my skin. I will pin a comment when I post this and talk about the wear time, so I have it all over my face now, but I'm not really going to know until the end of the day how that went, so I'll chime back in and say that, but you know, I don't think most people are going to be willing to use this that way. However, because so many people are in love with this concealer, I do very much expect them to be coming out with a foundation soon. Now, very often when these brands do that, they'll come out with a concealer that everybody loves. People don't feel the same way about the foundation. Not all brands get that right. So I don't know that they will get that right, but this definitely gives me hope. What I'm not thrilled about is the fact that that freaking foundation is probably going to be like $130 because if the concealer that's 9 mil is 58, I can't even imagine what they're going to charge for the foundation. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really care because I doubt it's going to be better than my NARS. I probably won't feel the need to try it, but we'll see. I mean, at the very least, I'm happy to see brands marketing towards an older demographic. I feel like the fact that they're using older models and not shying away from that ultimately is a good thing. I wish it didn't have to come at such a high price point, but they came out of the gate as a luxury brand, so all I can say is it's not the only option. I have been very happy with the combination of my NARS foundation and my Kulfi and Kosas concealer, so I don't for a second think this is necessary, but if those things don't work for you and you have the money, I think this is worth trying. I think there are a small number of people that have found this that doesn't work for them. They say that it's drying or this and that. Just absolutely, if that's the case, return it. But I don't think if you're really somebody that this makes sense for, I don't think that you'll be disappointed. So I have it in shade 3.0. I think for concealer, I should have gotten shade 1. But 3.0 probably works better all over my face. In a perfect world, I would have both and I would combine them and that would be my shade because that seems to be what I always have to do. But, you know, what this sort of reminded me of was the Givenchy concealer. So this Prism Libre concealer, I got this 1 or 2 years ago. I don't even remember, but a lot of people said the same thing about this. This was such a beautiful concealer. They used it all over their face. And well, number one, it was cheaper, but this is also 11 milliliters, so it was a lot easier to justify that. I feel like when I put this all over my face, I liked it, but it didn't knock my socks off the way this did. So I'm still happy that I have this concealer in my collection, but if you offered me both and they were free, I would pick the Sarah Creal. So, again, not game changing, but it is nice. And I'm happy to report that that's been my personal experience so far. Another thing that was on my list forever was this Pillow Talk Matte Beauty Blush Wand. I really like this color. The formula is really nice. I didn't feel like the formula itself was revolutionary, but the color, as truly basic as it is a little bit different to most of what I have in my collection, and for that reason, I like it better than most of my other liquid blushes. I hate the packaging. I hate the little puff ball. That grosses me out. I really can't wait for this to fall out of popularity because I hate it so much, but it won't stop me from using a product. So I'll use it despite the packaging. And initially I thought this might have been a waste of money for me, but I don't feel like that. Now I'm really glad that I picked it up. Another thing that's been on my list since it came out was the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3, the matte eyeshadow palette. I couldn't justify this because frankly, it's a really expensive matte eyeshadow palette, and I am still on the fence as to whether I really think it's worth it. Right now, what I use on a daily basis to set up my more shimmery looks is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. I love the mattes in that palette. The colors work really well for me, but it is sort of missing those brown tones. That's what this brings to the table. That, and frankly, I'm hitting pan in that palette. So at some point, I am going to need to have another palette to use. Last year, I picked up the Makeup by Mario Cool Tone Matte palette. That did not work out for me. I do not get along with that formula. Some people too. I just personally don't. This formula works a lot better for me. And so far, so good. I mean, the mattes definitely perform like the mattes in his other palettes. And I think that this will be a very useful palette in my collection, but obviously only time will prove whether or not that's accurate. So far, I can say the quality is great and I feel good about the purchase. I think I really like it so far, so I'm happy about that. And finally, I picked up the Gucci bronzer in shade 1. So I already had this in shade 2, and in my head, I thought that I could just use less of it. If I just used less of it, even though it was probably too deep for my skin tone, I could probably somehow make it work. That did not turn out to be the case. I struggled with that bronzer. I'm going to give it to somebody else and hopefully they'll have a better experience with it. On me, it just looked muddy and it never really blended that well. So I had issues with the formula as well as the color. I heard people say that even when they had issues with shade 2, they did not have those same issues with shade 1. So frankly, the curiosity just got to me, and I liked this color so much that I was compelled to try it for myself. There really weren't any other bronzers on the market in my, at least from what I could see on the internet, that seemed to be the same color as this. If there were, I would have gone with that instead. I looked at the Jones Road bronzer because I know that that has a pinkier base. Some people even use that as blush. This one is definitely more neutral than that one, so I kind of thought this was a better fit, and so far I'm liking it. I am not head over heels. I did not put this on my face and think, oh, this is the bronzer that I've been waiting my whole life for. That was not my reaction. However, I certainly don't dislike it. So, this could be on the chopping block. I could see myself changing my mind, but at least at this point, I know that I don't hate it. It definitely works better for my skin tone, and I think the formula does work a little better for me, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Time will tell on that. Actually, I left one out. So this was not in the photo because I just ran out of space, but I did also pick up the Sarah Creal lip balm. The adults are talking. This is just a clear lip balm. I had heard enough people talk about the fact that this is healing. Unlike things that are just hydrating, nourishing, glossy, whatever, plumping, this was supposed to heal your lips. And I don't know. I had a moment of weakness. I was shopping and my lips were bleeding and I was like, oh, that would make a really nice gift. So I did go ahead and buy it as a gift for somebody else. But then the curiosity got to me, and I was like, well, I really want to know if this works. So I ended up picking up two, which is ridiculous, but at least so far I don't regret it. That's another one where I need to spend a lot more time with it to know if it's really worth the high price point, but it's definitely very comfortable and it stays put for a long time. So that's what I can say about it so far. I am sure you could get that at a better price point, but I don't think it's something that you would necessarily regret picking up. All right, so that is everything in my second haul. What I plan on doing from this point forward is focusing on really testing these products, doing wear tests, putting them side by side to other things, and then in a couple weeks I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a complete haul. So I'll talk about every single thing I picked up, what I think about them, and basically whether or not I think they were worth it. So sort of taking inventory on the fall sale. But if everything goes as planned, hopefully this video will come in right in under the radar. You know, it's been a crazy week. Nothing has been on schedule this week. I was really hoping to do this a few days ago, but you know, I'm going to try to post it before the 11th, and then there's going to be another 20% off deal. I mean, they haven't said it, but they've done it for the past several years, so I very much expect to see that coupon, which is 20% off for everyone. So it's a way better sale for most people, and at the very least, hopefully these videos will be helpful for that. Okay, so now I'm going to try to switch gears for a minute. And this is not something I plan on doing very often, but trigger warning, politics. So I'll start by saying this is still a beauty channel. This is a beauty channel for beauty reviews. Almost everything I post will be about beauty. However, I want to show up here authentically, and part of that means when something strikes me, to speak about it. This is a really hard time in our country, and at least my plan is that this is the last time I'm going to do this for a long time. I think there is so much negativity everywhere right now that we need, you know, an escape on some level. And because of that, if I ever do talk about something like this, I'm going to put a trigger warning up because I know sometimes I can't handle it. So as a courtesy to people who are sensitive, I am always going to put it in the thumbnail and put timestamps. So you do not have to sit through this next part. If you just came here to hear about the makeup, take care of yourself and dip out now. That's totally fine. I just felt personally compelled by something that I saw online yesterday, and you know, to all the shut up and dribble, like anyone coming out and saying things like that, you know, they're just trying to silence people, and that's all that is. So I'm ignoring that. I've already lost subscribers, which, you know, I actually see that as a good thing because they're people that I would not have wanted in this community anyway. But we're all just trying to navigate how to move forward. And I don't think that my place in this is going to be talking about it on YouTube. I think that there are people that are way better equipped to do that than me. So I'm going to keep my comments minimal, especially going forward. But yesterday I saw a peer of mine who is not somebody that I speak to, so somebody that I know, you know, peripherally, but she is a fellow cishet white woman. And she got real mad after the election and talked about being overwhelmed and tired and all of those things, and then silence. And then the next day came out and said that she's making peace with things. And honestly, I saw red. That made me see red. And I'm trying as hard as I can to give her the benefit of the doubt. But she never clarified that statement. She never explained what she meant by that. So all I can do is, based on anybody saying something like that like she's over it. Like in her life, she's just not going to let this affect her. She's going to move on and like make peace with things. And I just couldn't help but immediately think like, what a luxury it is. How privileged you are that you can do that because you can wake up every day and leave your house, and there are not hate groups out there right now recruiting members and growing and becoming emboldened to hunt you based on what you look like, your skin color, how you present to the world. You can live your life walking around without a target on your back, and that allows you to make peace with this. I, for one, am never making peace with this. I believe that there is a difference between taking care of your mental health and accepting something and ignoring it. And we have all always had to do that. Like, we have all had to live in a world where we can try to take the best care of ourselves mentally as possible, while also having a sick family member, missing a loved one, any long list variety of things that are happening simultaneously that you can look at and say, no, I don't accept that, but I am doing both. I am both not accepting this and taking care of myself at the same time. It's not mutually exclusive. So while I really want to give her the benefit of the doubt and hope that that is what she meant, she never clarified it. And I don't know. If you're not willing to clarify and say, no, I care about these people and they matter enough for me, and say out loud with no confusion that their lives matter to me. I don't know. I don't want to criticize the wrong people here, because I know that there are other people who have chosen to, I guess, even a step further, not said anything at all. But I don't know what those people are doing in other spaces and in their lives that I don't see. So I only see what I see. So I can only judge what people are saying and doing based on what I see. And to actually come out and say, like, I'm going to make peace with this, like, that to me is just indicative of, I'm speaking as a cis-het white woman with privilege, we so often miss. There's no guidebook how to be an ally or what our perfect role is and how to go forward, but acknowledging it is the minimum. And I think it's statements like that that just call out the fact that so many of us don't even realize that we're not the demographic that is most impacted by this. We are impacted by this, but being sad and angry doesn't help anybody. So the thing that I'm planning on doing is I'm asking what I can do, because luckily there are resources for that. We can donate to certain organizations. And so often those organizations actually make it really easy to ask them directly what else they need. So that's how I'm personally trying to navigate this. I do not want to come off as being self-righteous. Lord knows, I have no idea what I'm doing out here. I also saw this today and it really struck me, because I was like, yeah, duh, we have to start by letting people around us know that we are not safe to be misogynistic, racist, homophobic, anything. That it's not safe to be those things around us. And that's where we start. Beyond that, I know I've seen a lot of discussion about, our echo chambers and how we're not really helping anybody because we're not saying it to anybody outside of our circle. And yes, while I know we need to do something about that, I don't think we ever have to compromise. I don't believe in attacking people. I don't think that gets through. But I personally feel like education is the way to move forward with that. It's not compromising my values. I don't think I need to push any of my beliefs to the side to make peace with somebody else. I feel like I can provide them ways of understanding without ever letting them think that I'm okay with hate not being a deal breaker, because that is a hard line in the sand for me. And I'm not trying to call anyone out specifically. I'm just talking about my reaction to what I saw yesterday, because I know people feel lost right now. So I'm going to try to provide some resources in the description box of organizations that I found helpful. And, it really does feel like we are collectively walking towards a cliff with blindfolds on. We don't know what's going to be needed a year, 2, 3 years from now. So the service needed now could be completely different from what we're called to do later. But at least to start with, I am focusing on personally the demographics that needed most. Women who don't have the means to get out if they need help. Marginalized marginalized people in the LGBTQIA plus community, as well as racial minorities, that are living in fear now because they feel like they're being targeted by people who feel emboldened to act out their racist and homophobic fantasies. These are the groups that I'm personally focusing on. They're not the only groups. There are other groups that are needing assistance right now, but I just know what I know, so that's where I'm starting. You know, it's like when people make comments about the economy, I never hear that from people who are literally without resources, who feel like they have no way out economically. It's always from people that are pretty much doing okay. And they're making that argument to justify their vote to literally throw people just in my life, friends that I have that I love dearly, throw them into the fire so that they can have a little bit more money. I just could never. I mean, between that and, there are certain people that are ignorant and like, okay, so maybe they didn't really know what they were voting for, but I think by and large, it was callousness and hatred that won out. And I certainly don't think that the economy is going to improve, but even if you were to make that argument, it never holds up. It just doesn't. And for these horrible things to not be a deal breaker is just, it's really sad and it's really depressing. So I am focusing on these organizations so that I personally don't lose hope. And I know, like I said, I'm out here flailing with everybody else. I don't know what to do, but I know that giving up or making peace or ever saying it's okay is never going to be an option. So I don't know if any of this made sense, but I personally, I'm having a really hard time focusing on makeup right now. I don't think that's going to be forever, but I think there are going to be periods of time during the next 4 years where I can't do this. I can't do a makeup review because lip gloss doesn't matter. It does not matter. What matters is people. And, I'm just trying to do my best in doing both right now and show up where I'm at and when I can. And hopefully this was helpful to somebody out there who might be feeling the same way. Regardless, wherever you are, I hope you're having a beautiful day. I love you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.